I'll just give Dottie and Peter a chance to get sat down. Thanks for joining us. So you've got me again. Hello, I'm Catherine Forsey. You've all met me already, the Chief Research Officer at the CMTA, and I'm really happy that I'm joined on stage by a patient panel, and I'm going to give the platform over to them in turn a little bit later in my presentation. Until then, I'm just going to make them sit here nervously. So I'm really grateful for them coming to join in this session. I'm going to cover patients as partners in research, which is one of the CMTA's pioneer programs. So Patients as Partners in Research was established in 2018. I'm going to run through what the goals and objectives of that program is, and then talk about the current status. We have the patient panel, as I've mentioned, so I'm going to hand over. They're each going to speak about their experience of being a patient partner in research. And then I'm going to explain how you today can become a patient partner. And then we're going to have a little bit of time for Q&A until Laurel tells us we have to stop. So the published goal of Patients as Partners in Research is to advance the work of CMTA's Strategy to Accelerate Research, STAR, and to enroll the patient community in that critical work of furthering development of treatments and ultimately a cure for CMT. It's all very well and good having a goal, but how do we achieve that? So the rest of that slide is what our key objectives are. I'm not going to read them out because I'm going to talk to you about each one and what we're doing in reality to make that goal happen. So our first objective, we've already said, is to engage you, but how do we do that? So we do that through supporting access to natural history studies, surveys, and clinical trial opportunities. And how we do that is we engage our alliance and research partners. So some of the researchers that you've heard speak today and who are coming on after me will talk to you about opportunities and studies that we've funded that can only happen if you volunteer to take part in them. So we engage those partners and they give us listings. We add those listings and those opportunities to the CMTA's website. So that's shown on the right there. So you might have been to that page before and there's a whole list of opportunities on there. And we communicate with you. So if you are a member of our Patients as Partners in Research program, we pop you an email and we say, oh, there's a new opportunity that's come up and here it is. So you can find out about it there. And so far we've supported recruitment to more than 22 different initiatives, and that covers biomarkers projects. You've heard biomarkers mentioned in some of the talks today, natural history studies, surveys that researchers have put out, and recent ones have been on breathing impairment in CMT or COVID and how that was affected in CMT. We also have patient focus groups and opportunities to get involved in clinical trials. So the CMTA has actively helped to recruit patients to the FarNext PXT3003 study and the Applied Therapeutics CMT SWORD. So I'm not going to read all these out, don't worry, but I just wanted to give you the full spread of the live listings that we have on the CMTA website currently that you can get involved in. And they run all the way through from natural history study for 2C, looking at the C12ORF65 is a really fancy way of seeing CMT type 6, which is a super rare type. Distant cousin project for people who don't know their CMT type, 4J natural history studies, evaluation of gait, how children with CMT walk. There's still a survey open about the impacts of COVID-19. And then David Herman's going to be talking about ACT CMT. We're actively recruiting to all of these now. So if many of you are thinking, how can I help and how can I help advance research, these are the ways. So there's in your lovely Hessian bag with all of your materials, there's a flyer that takes you to this webpage and shows you all those opportunities. So the second objective for us here is to engage you, get you involved in what's happening. So we want to tell you around what's happening in research progress for your type of CMT. We can only do that if you tell us what type of CMT you have, or if you tell us you have an unknown type. We can also tell you what's happening to help you find out. So our strategy there is you fill in that profile, you give us that information about yourself, and then we send you really specific communications about what's happening. So if we fund a new project in CMT 2E, we'll email all the people we know have 2E and we'll tell them about it. And we can arrange a session with that researcher so you can come and ask questions about it. But we can only tell you that if we know you have 2E. So it's about you sharing some information with us so we can support you better. And then we can invite you to this summit and we can tell you about the specific sessions that you might want to come to. And then we can direct you to the parts of the CMTA website where we've got information about the research that's happening in your type of CMT. And then we can send special invitations to you to come along to those patient researcher specific teleconferences. So we held one not that long ago on 1A, Patients as Partners 1A Town Hall. Gina Sweeney and Mike Shai just recently did one on 2A. We had a patient focus group for 2C, and we have a 4C task force, and we have regular calls with the researchers to talk about what's happening. We can only do that if we know what type you've got, and then we can invite you along to them. So invitations come if you complete your profile. And I've just popped up there, that's an example of one of the emails we send out, 5 exciting projects in 1A. That went to everybody who has 1A. So our third objective is data. This is driven by your data. Anyone who gets excited about a spreadsheet, we can be friends. So we collect patient-informed data, and that improves the support we give you. So it means we can tailor our communications. It means we understand the community better, and we can plan our work from a more informed position. So we have your data. And we also look at those profile questions. We have this secure online form. It's a really simple online form for you to fill in. It takes about 5 or 6 minutes to do. And then we tell you about it. And most of our communications at the bottom have a little piece that says, please become a patient as partner in research. So then our fourth objective is to use that anonymized data. We use that to inform our current research and the wider community. So how do we use that anonymous analyzed data? So we've looked at your CMT type, subtype, age, location. I can crunch in a spreadsheet all of this lovely data that you give us, and I'm going to show you. Anybody like a pie chart? Here's a pie chart. So 6,000 people from our community, many of you in this room have filled in these profiles, and I need more of you to do it. So 6,000 people, and I analyzed all that data. 97% of people told me about their CMT type. And that might have been to tell me, I don't know my CMT type. But knowing that is really important to me. So we saw there, like 35% of people said they were type 1. 40% of people said, I don't know my CMT type. And it's really important for us to know that, because that's what we call a diagnostic gap. And this distribution is really broadly consistent with the published data, so it's backed up by what our clinical colleagues are telling us. We also asked you about your CMT subtype. So many of you might know CMT type can sometimes be determined by your EMG, the lovely electrocutions that they like to do for us. And I could not believe it when he said earlier that it doesn't hurt. I was like, you clearly is misinformed. Yeah, I knew you were all agreeing with me. So from the EMG, sometimes they can tell you if you're type 1 or type 2. So some people know that without having had a genetic test. And then to know what subtype you have, like to know that you're 1A, that's where the genetic test comes in. Or, your dad has 1A, so you can pretty much assume you've got the same type. So we asked you that. And again, of those, 4,000 people told us their CMT subtype. Some of them said they didn't know, but a lot of people told us their type. So you can see there the biggest proportion of people have 1A. That was 35%. Then it goes down, 2A, 1X, 1B, 4C. Someone's going, 4C? That's really rare. How come that gets a whole piece of your pie chart? And that's because the community's really reached out, found all the people with 4C, and got them all to fill in the profile. So we see them more clearly on that pie chart. But overall, 47 different CMT subtypes are represented in Patients as Partners in Research. That's the most diverse CMT data set there is. We've got 47 subtypes in there, so that's down to you filling that in, so thank you. But it also tells me that that diagnostic gap, those people who don't know what type of CMT they have, that really varies depending on the type of CMT you have. So only 2% of people with type 1, put your hand up if you're type 1. So only 2% of people with type 1 don't know what type of subtype they have. But put your hand up if you've got type 2. So 42% of people with type 2 don't know what type of type 2 they've got. So that tells us it's a bigger problem for type 2s, and that helps us decide what research we're going to do next. So then we get into genetic testing, and we ask the question, have you had a genetic test? Now, in this, only 4% of people who answered that question had had a genetic test. But those that did, like nearly 80% get an answer. So you have that genetic test, 80% of people are getting an answer from that. 36% said I haven't had a genetic test, but 60% of you did not answer that question. That's a problem for me, because if you don't answer the question, I can't analyze that data. So get in there, answer that question for me. So if you have recently found out your CMT type, CMT subtype, fill in a new profile. Get in there and give us your most up-to-date information, please. And then geography. Anyone who likes a map? I'm not just a pie chart person, I love a map too. So what we can do is we can identify geographic patient clusters, and this helps us with where we're going to plan a clinical trial. There's no point in us planning a clinical trial somewhere where we don't know if there are any patients, because no one will come. And also, it shows the global reach of what the CMTA does, because I know we're a US-based nonprofit. Obviously, they've got as far as the UK. But we spread completely globally. And if you can see right in the middle of the ocean, in the middle there, there's 21 people with CMT just swimming around out there. And then if your geography's any good, you're like, oh, nice. Please may I go visit them in Hawaii? So that's the Hawaii branch. Thank you, whoever leads that one, because they've all been filling in their profiles. So we can see you on that map and where you are in the world. And that plans my next... John Svarin also said to me he wants to go and see those 21 people on Hawaii. He's trying to write a grant for that, so we'll decide. So it gives us that global reach, and I want more pins on this map. I want more people, so get out there, get the profile filled in. Then we find out other things. So what age were you when your symptoms started? Please answer that question. What age were you when you were diagnosed? That gap is called the diagnostic odyssey. For some people, that's really quick. Like, I didn't know I had it, and then, oh, I've got CMT, so I had zero diagnostic odyssey. Some people have symptoms as a child, and they can be well into adulthood before anybody finds out what it is. And we know how frustrating that is, and that varies by type. So the people with HMPP takes the longest, because the difference between the blue bar and the orange bar is the biggest gap. So I can see that from what you tell me, and we know which people struggle most with their diagnosis. And we can share this with our clinicians and our doctors to help increase awareness. And then part of this fourth objective is informing current research alliance partners. I do not keep this information to myself. I will tell anybody that will listen. So we share it with our STAR advisory board. I've written abstracts for presentations at global conferences. So just this year, I was in London in March sharing this with the UK neuromuscular community, Texas in March, again for the MDA. And then in June, we were all in Copenhagen for the huge Peripheral Nerve Society conference. They accepted our abstracts. That's a copy of the poster that I presented, and we shared that with as many scientists who were interested. And then that's published also in a global journal publication. So that means that companies can start to quote our information. They can start to use that data. And we also work with them directly. So I can't tell you the names of the companies that come and ask me these questions because it's all part of their planning, but they'll say, okay, how many people have you got with 2A? How many of them are aged between 18 and 50? Where are they? I can't tell them who they are, but I can give them a map and I can give them the data. And they can start thinking about planning their trials and thinking, do we know enough of these patients to make a trial possible? And our job at the CMTA is to say, yes, we've got them all in a little group and they're all really ready for you, but we need to have you ready. So we also then provide community updates through STAR communication. So occasionally, Sarah Cader lets me put a graph in an email and we'll send it out to you and we'll tell you what we found out. So then the other thing I do is gap analysis. What don't we know? Because that's really important. So that diagnostic gap that I mentioned, especially in people with type 2, you don't know what types you've got, 40% of you. So we have the Genesis project, and we decide to give some money to Stefan Zuckner and the INC colleagues. He's based at Miami. They found 25 new types of CMT. So that work is helping to find those new types. It's helping those unknown people to find out what type of CMT they have. And then also, not many of you are accessing genetic testing when these questions were filled in, so can we give you some more information? Can we point you towards the in vitro panels? Can we tell you how to ask your doctors for genetic testing if you choose to have it? And then also we're building the community, so I'm going to have you all do that today. If you join Patients as Partners and fill in a profile, it's completely free. We'll tell you when we add new questions. We'll tell you when there's a new opportunity to take part in research, and it's not going to be long before that's a clinical trial. And we'll keep sharing that analysed data with you and supporting research, supporting Alliance and biotech companies, and we'll keep supporting you to get engaged through giving you opportunities to come to sessions that are designed just for your type at CMT. And we're not keeping this to ourselves. CMTA is really outwardly focused patient advocacy group. So I've had calls with CMT patient advocacy groups in the UK, Europe, and saying, these are the question set. Would you like it? You can use it. Use it yourself, share it. Why don't you use the same question set we have, and then if you need me to, I'll help you analyse your data. So we can all start asking the same questions, and we're all doing it in the same way. So we can start to build that global picture. So we're all about sharing as best we can. So I'm going to hand now over to our panel, because it's all well and good me saying this is what we have, but what we have here is patients who've decided to take part in some of these research opportunities that we've been sharing. So first I've got Kenny. Are you going to sit or are you going to stand, Kenny? Okay, I'm going to hand to Kenny, who's going to talk to us about his involvement.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kenny Trout from San Diego, California. I'm a branch leader down there, and I started doing the PX303 study. Is it like 14 months? Or it's like, I think it's 18 or 14 months, something like that. So I just got done with it in July, but now I'm on the extended program where I keep taking for sure the real drug. It was a double-blind study originally, so I wasn't sure if I was on the placebo or the real stuff. And it was really simple. I applied, a couple years ago probably now, and got accepted. Found out I had to drive from Carlsbad all the way to UCLA campus, which is really fun to do. It's a great place to hang out up in, Westwood. It's kind of cool up there and go to lunch and stuff. But so the doctor was wonderful. She did a bunch of interviews, and they do a blood draw every time. A really simple one. It's very quick. And they have me do the walk down the hall, and she does, I can opt out, I think, but she does the nerve conduction thing once in a while. I think I've done it twice since I've been there, maybe 3 times. It's just, they're very professional. They get me in and out of there really quick because they know I'm usually going to be stuck in traffic or whatever, so they try to get me in and out really quick. But very professional. Dr. Halabi is, she's the neurologist there, and she's just very professional, gets me in and out every time. And with the drug, it's, I noticed nothing. I started taking it, I didn't, and I heard Laurel and I were talking about, I'm probably not going to feel anything. At first, I thought, "Oh, I can lift my leg higher. I can do this. I can do that." And then it's like, no, not really. I didn't really notice a whole big difference at all. But I can't. To me, I figured I just barely made the age cutoff to do this study, and because I'm getting up there. But I figured they're going to need older people to see if this actually does work, but I'm hoping that it helps the 4-year-olds that will get this if it does work, and that's who it's going to help right there, right? So Dr. Lewis, there was another. We were in a meeting with Dr. Lewis, and we were wondering about these drug studies. This was like 10 years ago, and he, hey, how's this going to help? What's this going to do? And he says, oh, it's not going to help you guys, because I was standing with this other guy. This isn't really for you. This is for the kids with it. So that's who we're really hoping to help with this. But anyway, it went really easy. Am I on time? Okay. But here's my one complaint. The little bags to take it, you have to open these bags. They're a bugger, aren't they? I cannot get those things open to save my life. But other than that, it was great.
Thank you, Ken.
Hi, I'm Mary Louie. I'm from Portland, Maine. I just felt like Catherine was talking. I'm really short, sorry. Catherine was talking directly to me. I actually am enrolled in the natural history study and in the new mutation study down in Florida. But what I'm standing here to talk to you about is I'm part of the 2A biomarker study with Dr. Shear down in Philadelphia, which always I wanted to help. I come from a big family with CMT2A, and I have 2 children, and like Kenny said, I'm doing it for them, not really myself. As fun as it is to walk up and down stairs without my braces on and try to attempt to run up and down a hallway and not embarrass myself. But it was simple. It's 2 appointments, your EMG, your normal, like your regular yearly appointment with your neurologist to go through your conductions and everything like that, and to feel like you're helping the next generation and yourself at the same time, and giving people like Catherine and Dr. Shai, who's somewhere in this audience, and Dr. Shear, answers that they need and are looking for is really important, and I'm glad that I get to be part of this community and part of the solution to the problem. So, thank you.
I'm back. I'm Vittorio Ricci, if you didn't hear it the first time. I'll stand behind the podium, but I can do planks again if you guys want. But yeah, just to reiterate, when I first introduced myself, I think I mentioned that I had an unknown type of CMT when I was first diagnosed, and then I enrolled in a diagnosis study identifying new mutations. And about 3 years ago, they had a hit, and I ended up getting diagnosed with the SORD mutation. And right from there, I was basically right in the pipeline, because then Applied Therapeutics reached out, and they said, hey, we're doing a clinical trial. We've got a treatment for people with this mutation if you want to enroll in it. Sure enough, I did. I did the phase 2 trial about 2 years ago. I'm currently in the phase 3. It's a double-blind placebo, runs for 2 years. And it's been really very easy. It's actually been a lot of fun. So I'm kind of split between 2 different sites. For my yearly check-ins, I go down to New Jersey, and then once a month I have a nurse come to my apartment. It's actually been a lot of fun. It's a lot of the same faces. I always get the same traveling nurses, the same couple ones. So every time I see them, it's a great time to check in and see, where they've been. And they always remember me and my family, and they always ask, oh, how's your sister doing? How's your mom doing? How's the dog doing? So that's always a lot of fun. And even when I go down to New Jersey, I have like the same driver. So me and George will get together and get dinner together. So that's always fun. But it's really been, I feel like we kind of have the easy job. We just have to show up, and none of the procedures are outside of anything that a CMT patient has ever done. A lot of blood draws, just pretty fun. The nurses love coming to see me because they say I have really good veins. So happy to be of service in that way, but highly recommend, getting your diagnosis if you don't know, getting yourself in that pipeline, because then from there, it's really not too much work, and you get to partake in research and really be a part of the solution for everybody in that patient population.
Can I have the slides back on, please? So the last one I get to share here is about the children. So there are pediatric natural history studies running at Inherited Neuropathy Consortium sites and clinical centers of excellence in different parts of the world. So that was my little boy doing his 6-minute walk test on the route up and down Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital in London. And I wrote an article for an awareness month in September about getting involved in a pediatric natural history study. And the same as many of them have mentioned here is you rock up for your annual appointment and you say, is my son in a pediatric natural history study? Because sometimes you can't tell the difference between the assessments that they do on a normal appointment and a natural history study appointment. And even in my role, I didn't know if my child was in a study because I just say yes to everything. And they said, no, he's not. And I said, well, can he join one? And they went and had a chat. And then they said, yeah, do you want to join today? I was like, yes, please. I can delay my train back to Yorkshire. So we were there just for an extra hour. I filled in that survey. I took a picture of it. He walked up and down. He did a peg test. He stood on one leg. He did all sorts of cool things with Evelyn, who's the physiotherapist who's trained to do the assessments. That was it. And next year when we go back, he'll do the same again. And he did it all with a smile on his face, and nothing was uncomfortable. They don't do EMGs on kids. So he just got to go up and down that track. And if you saw in that video, he did a little high five every single time he went past. I had to tell him not to run, but not to dawdle. So that was the pediatric one. So if you've got kids with CMT, just ask next time they're at the appointment, can I join a pediatric natural history study? Ask them in advance if you can, because then it's more likely they'll fit you in to do it. So I want all of you to join. Laurel's going to kick me off the stage, but in your bag, there's a flyer that looks like that flyer. It's got a QR code on it. If you don't know what a QR code is, ask your neighbor. They'll help you. Please, during this tea break, get on that site, fill in that profile. It'll take 5 minutes and it will make me really happy. And it'll make a real difference to CMT research. So even if you're not sure if you've done a profile before, do another one, because we go in the back and we get rid of all the duplicates. We'll take your most recent one. So please sign up, fill in your profile, find your flyer. Thank you, you found your flyer. Scan it or go to the website and fill in that Patients as Partners profile. We'd really love to get at least 50 more people involved in Patients as Partners today and have to analyse your data next time. So I don't know if we've got time for questions.